If you're a leader, do you need someone who is a bad news buffer? Someone who can take the incoming bad news, massage it a little bit, then talk to you. We're going to talk about this today on this episode of Bite-Sized Brilliance. I realize right now you may be saying, hey, who's this guy? Hi, my name is Ken. I'm a keynote speaker and I talk to audiences about ways you can improve your performance on the job, get better. I also write books. The latest book is called Get Better: Smart Business Advice from Unexpected Mentors. When it comes to bad news, it can really throw you off. As a leader, you're doing your thing, you're really busy, you're concentrating, you're focused, and then someone comes in and says, oh, the delivery is delayed, or some other problem. Now, we're not talking here about things that are super time sensitive, like if there's a fire, then someone should come and get you. But in a lot of cases, you get the bad news, it's an interruption, it's a distraction, and you fall into the problem of having to solve the issue. What we are proposing here is to have a bad news buffer, a person employees are told to go to if they have some sort of bad news. For instance, in the delivery scenario, an employee goes to the bad news buffer person, says the delivery is going to be 2 days late. That way, the bad news person can say, okay, so how is this going to affect us? And what might be some possible courses of action, solutions? Once all that information is gathered, the bad news buffer person goes to meet with the boss, explains the situation. That way, the boss or the leader, I'm kind of using them interchangeably, that person doesn't have to start from scratch. A lot of homework has already been done. They can assess the findings so far, agree, hey, let's do that, or perhaps suggest a different course of action. They're not having to drop everything whenever something goes wrong. Also, it can help spare their emotional state, because I know it can be disruptive when you're really focused on something and then you get a weird message that, oh, we have too much toilet paper in the office. What are you going to do about it? True story. For your organization, it might work well to have a time every day or every week where you get together with the bad news buffer person and you go through the issues. So it's a standard time rather than a ongoing interruption. Just makes it a little easier for everyone to handle, can lower some of the stress. Again, we're not talking about time-sensitive issues. Who should be the bad news buffer? You want to think about what are your strengths as a leader and who else in your organization has strengths, but maybe different ones. In my case, I would probably want someone who is calm and maybe a little analytical. I tend to be maybe a little more creative and emotional. So I want someone to get the bad news who's slightly different than me, who can kind of step back and say, okay, let's tackle this problem before we bring it to Ken. Not sure if you really need a bad news buffer? Okay, let's do a couple things. Let's say for a week, a month, track every time someone comes and interrupts you with some sort of bad news. And then also, can you estimate how much time you're having to spend on the bad news? Perhaps it would be better if someone else could handle these issues in a more systemized fashion. You still have the final call as a leader, but you're not having to deal with all the drama, emotion, and finding all the solutions. Might be worth doing. For more about me, hey, go to my website. It is kenokel.com. While there, you can see some clips from my speaking presentations. You can find out more about my book, Get Better, available on Amazon now. And you can listen to my podcast, The 2-Minute Takeaway, even though it's often longer than 2 minutes. That's okay. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ken Okel. Get better and take care.